Good morning. My name is Dennis Falloon, and I'm the District 7 Safety Academy Coordinator and the District 7 Consultant. And I'd like to welcome you to the 12th District 7 Safety Academy webinar. Today's webinar will be the keys to successful safety programs that will be presented today by Rudy Alms, who's a Senior Traffic Safety Engineer with Tyndall Oliver and Associates of Tampa, Florida. And he was a former employee with the Department of Federal Highway Administration, FHWA, and he actually resides in Wisconsin. Before he begins, I'm going to give a little intro to the Academy. And I just wanted to reiterate again that this Academy is here to provide information regarding safety related issues to enhance your local safety programs. Um, the webinars began in October, and they were held every Wednesday, 10 to 12 p.m., and they run between an hour to 2 hours, depending on the complexity of the issues. And there's a place where you can register for the actual topics, and an email normally goes out also to talk about where you can log in if you want to get onto the meeting. And at the very bottom of this slide, it says completed sessions at. That's the website where you can actually go out there and get a copy of the PDF of the presentation and also get a copy or listen to the recorded version. And as I said today, this is the last, and what Anthony said, the last of the topics for the first part of the Safety Academy, key to successful safety programs. And also wanted to mention, because I had the opportunity to mention, that the fourth annual District 7 Safety Summit will be held on Wednesday, March 5th. It'll be held from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the District 7 by District 7 Safety Office. The location is to be determined yet. It could still end up being in the District 7 auditorium, but they're going through some maintenance work on their roof, and we're trying to get a location nearby. So we'll keep you posted on that. To register, I did send out a notice, but for those that did not receive it, there is a link here on this slide that shows where you can go in and register for that summit. This is my contact information, so you can go in and get this off that website if you need it, so you don't have to try to hurriedly write it down. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Rudy and let him begin his session. Anthony, I think you'll have to move that in for him. Okay.
Yep, I just did.
Okay.
Good morning, and greetings from Wisconsin. It's 8 degrees here right now. Some people wonder why I live in Wisconsin. It's because that's where I feel most comfortable in the snow and rain, plus my wife lives here, and it's always nice to be close to your wife. The keys here are, we're going to look at 8 different keys. There's 7 keys listed on our table here, but there's one special one that we want to always consider, and we'll catch that right at the end. So let's get going. And what we did was, I was with the Federal Highway Administration for about almost 40 years, and worked on several safety programs over the years, and looked at what were as I did some thinking and musing as in my retirement, I said, what are some of the key things that are critical to a safety program, to successful safety programs throughout the years? I've seen many, many states with successful programs, many, many local agencies. Wanted to see what was common to each of these, and what were their strengths, what were their weaknesses, and what made them stand out. Through the next few minutes, we're going to look at where we've been, look at where we are now, look at those keys for those local agencies, and then look at the next steps. What are your next steps to create a even more successful safety program in your jurisdiction? We've been really fortunate to have these first 11 presentations. Joe started out with the Strategic Highway Safety Plan, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Mark talked about evaluation, which is always one of the issues that people forget. That's the undone part of safety throughout. The successful safety programs all have it, but many we have not enough time to do what needs to be done, let alone evaluate what we just did. And Mark did a great job on the evaluation process, and we need to be evaluating it. Did we do the right thing? And if we need to, what do we need to change? Joe talked about the safety manual, what's going on there. Larry looked at crash reduction factors and the application there. If you haven't seen these or participated in them, this is a wealth of knowledge. If you just took all of these webinars, you could develop a very, very successful safety program by just following the basic things here. The safety funding, Dave talked about that, and that's critical to use both your local funds, state funds, contractor funds, public sector, private sector, to work that all together. At Federal Highway Administration, it was one thing to take federal money and private money and put it together to have even more successful programs. And then Dave talked about what's a successful program for you and the steps. Each of the steps, they're all very critical, and they've been doing a great job on laying out what needs to be done. A real tricky one that Anthony handled extremely well was that cost benefit and the calculations, present value calculations. So if you haven't taken a look at that, then Larry did his thorough job on the safety projects and local programs. He did 2 of them. One last week, covered basically all of the keys. If you followed his presentation, found out that the keys that the things he was explaining are the basic keys to a successful program. And then the scheduling and funding process. So it's all laid out there. If you haven't taken these, it's worth your while to sit down and just take that hour and go through these and get a refresher if you need to. But it's all laid out there, and I don't know any place in the United States that has any district or state that has this comprehensive training that's going on, and I want to congratulate District 7, Peter and Gary and David for their outstanding leadership in this area. Strategic plans, Florida has their strategic plan. When I was at the Federal Highway Administration, and Federal Highway Administration talks about the 4 key aspects of a strategic plan, and that Joe talked about that, the importance of leadership, of having people at the leadership level involved and committed from the very beginning and throughout. Communication, Larry talked about the importance of that in the conversation, getting everybody thinking along the same lines, collaboration, working together, working for the win-win situation. Data collection, the vast amount of data that's available is just unbelievable compared to what it was just a few years ago. So we don't want to be overwhelmed by that data, but we have to use it even more wisely. We're going to talk about the emphasis areas that Florida has. Here's a key thing, is that integration of your safety program into your other transportation plans. And it's just not, we have a safety program, and let safety worry about that, and we'll just build roads. It has to be part of a total package. Safety has to be integrated into the total transportation program, into all of the plans, and that's one of the key things that Federal Highway Administration has been pushing for many, 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 many years. Marketing, getting information out to the public, and this is a great marketing tool here, that we are able to get information out to each other, to share this information, but to let the public know what some of the issues are, so we can get their support too. And the marketing also has to be to the leadership and decision makers. And then again, that monitoring evaluation, the thing that always is left off. And one of the things we always would kid about at Federal Highway Administration was, geez, we're so busy doing other things, we got to evaluate the program too. But we found that evaluation and providing that information to Congress was so critical to the future of the safety program. In 91, there was about $500 million for safety. Then it ramped up. We had gone to Congress and chatted with their staffers, and they asked us, well, how much would $1 billion be for safety? And we had that ready to go. This is how many lives would be saved. This is what it would take. And then, so in Safety Lou, we got some additional money. We got double that money based on that evaluation of what we could provide to Congress. And then Congress doubled that again in MAP 21. So it's so important to get that evaluation done and have it ready for everyone as you go along, and not wait until somebody asks for it, because eventually somebody will. The safety programs. The 1924 Safety Conference, that is for us safety geeks and that, this is a great reading. I actually have one of the original copies. It's online if anybody ever wants to take a look at it. But basically, they got about 500 people together from throughout the country in 1924, when there were about 20,000 fatalities in the United States. And at that time, you can imagine, the fatality rate was 15. So what we had was a group of people from engineering, enforcement, education, and the medical community got together and talked about things, and they developed things like the national standards, insurance, the manual on uniform traffic control devices, the beginning of the AASHTO guides and standards, and they talked about the systemic approach to highway safety and working together. Talked about the importance of data. All the things that are basic to our program are really laid out in the discussions of this first conference, and then there was another one in 27. I wasn't fortunate to be there, but in talking and discussing this, we just saw that this was just a great conference and great visionaries. The first safety program, it was in 1973, and that consisted of really a systematic approach to removing roadside obstacles, improving railroad grade crossings, pavement marking demonstration projects. That's basically when we replaced, we meaning the United States, put pavement marking down on virtually every road in the nation, center line and edge line where necessary. So you can see a systemic approach was already established at that time, and then we had the high hazard locations that was also as part of that. We talked about the systemic approach in that early legislation and in early discussions. Then there was an integration of safety into the whole highway process, which I mentioned before. Safety management was developed in 92 as a result of ICE-T. Then the Strategic Highway Safety Plan, and that Florida developed in 06 as a result of the legislation. And as a side note, Florida was really the first state to start the development of a pedestrian safety plan. I mean, the Strategic Highway Safety Plan. That was back in about 04, and we at the national level looked at Florida, and I was honored to attend that conference and used what Florida developed into the national plan. So a lot of the things that were in the Florida plan at that time were parlayed into the national. And then there's been an upgrade of the strategic plan for Florida just recently, so you want to have a copy of that and look at that, because all of the safety projects that District 7 is developing are reflected into the Strategic Highway Safety Plan, into the emphasis area. So you want to know that. And then the funding guide that was developed, this is one of the first and only local fund safety funding guides in the nation, and serves as a model to other communities. And others communities throughout the country and states have been looking at this. So District 7 and all of you have been real leaders in making this all happen and pulling this all together. So from 1924 to today, safety has had some basic foundations, and we'll look at some of those things now. And where are we now? Each of us are, here's the District 7 conference room, where we'd all be sitting in there, but through technology now, we don't have to all gather together, so we can have these seminars and pull together. In the mission, vision, and goal for Florida, I hope all of you have this posted somewhere in your building, office, or somewhere, and just to keep these in mind, that what the vision is for the Florida Strategic Highway Safety Plan, because it's not just the DOT's Strategic Highway Safety Plan, it's the state of Florida's. And that the mission is that integration of engineering, enforcement, education, emergency medical services, focusing the resources where they'll do the most good, where they will do the most good. And that, again, goes back to 1924. And then the goal is to get the headquarters and the district people involved in that and visible and having them provide that leadership. The goal of the Florida Strategic Highway Safety Plan, of your strategic plan, is a reduction of about 5% annually. And here's what it would be. So when we're back out in the year 2017, which is at the far end, at the far right side, we will be below 2,000. And though it's important to set goals, because if you don't set a goal and you don't set it high enough, or you can just say, I wish I would have just pushed a little harder. And if you don't make the goal, at least we tried and we got down to a lower number. Can you imagine in 1992 when the fatality rate was about 2.2, and we had about 42,000, 43,000 people die, and that continued into about the year 2000, and we had a goal to reduce the fatality rate to 1.0 by 2008, and to reduce it by 20%, which meant that it had to come down from 42,000 to about 34,000, and the nation actually reached those levels. Those were unheard of when we came up with those goals to reduce it by that much, but it became a reality. Here are the emphasis areas that you have for Florida. Here are your emphasis areas. You say, how do I, as an engineer, address aggressive driving? What can I do? One of the things is to maybe have all the traffic signals flow where people just kind of don't have to wait for 10 minutes at a red light, or a confusing situation, or where they get just agitated, when people just get agitated and aggressive driving. So it comes upon us, too, that we have to say, are we creating, as engineers, anything that would cause people to become more aggressive, to become agitated to the point that they would do something crazy? We know that people will do that, and even back in 24, there were aggressive drivers. Intersections, we know we've been working on that. Vulnerable users, that is a big factor for District 7. Lane departures, and that is a key aspect that District 7 is looking at very strongly now, and you're going to see some programs in that has to be a systemic approach, because we know people are going to run off the road, but we don't know exactly where they're going to run off the road. So we have to do some analysis. Those are the hard parts of safety, to look at a systemic approach. And like I said, that went back to 1973 when that was a specific area for reducing crashes. Impaired driving. What can we as engineers do to reduce impaired driving? Those are the things that we have to sit down and talk with law enforcement about. Where can we help them with their checkpoints? What can we do to help them? At-risk drivers, the elderly, the aging driver, don't know what the aging driver is. It gets older and older as I get older and older. And certainly the teen drivers. And District 7 is doing a great job at the teen drivers with Gary Tate going around and talking to the kids. Amazingly enough, in 1924, that was one of the recommendations of that committee, is to provide training and education to school-age children. And then distracted driving and certainly traffic data is another thing. We got to ask, what can we do, and not just say we can't do anything for distracted drivers, to talk to enforcement, to talk to others, to say, what can we as engineers do to address some of these issues? So those are your emphasis areas, and all of the safety projects that come out through District 7 have to fall into those areas. Done a great job. District 7 has done a fantastic job in this, and so has Florida, in reducing the number of fatalities. And here's just right at the end, this is a tally towards the end in December, some early numbers, and you can see the reduction that's been done over the past few years, or the past year. Now, here are the keys to helping you develop a successful safety program. And you'll notice that if you've ever been involved with the Stephen Covey 7 Secrets to Highly Successful People, this is what this is based on. And that 8th one being passion. You have to have that passion. What I'd like you to do is everybody get out their a business card, and you're going to take notes. And I want you to take notes on your business card. So get out your 4H pencil or a pen, and just take notes on this. And that's all you get to do, is to take notes on this small piece of paper. And I want you to tuck this piece of paper into your wallet or put it on your desk, and use these as reminders. So you can only take notes from now on based on the back of your business card. And let's go through these now. Being proactive, get it done. We all know that nominal and substantive safety approaches, we just build to the standards, or do we build to what our results are? And we have to be working together, just like a baseball player has to be proactive in anticipating the pitch. Infielder has to anticipate where that ball is going to go. We have to start to anticipate what are some of the situations that are coming up, and we don't want to be chasing that ambulance and, that we had 10 crashes at this location, let's do something there, and then move to another location. And that's one of the things that came up in the Highway Safety Manual. Talks about regression to the mean. To just because you had a lot of crashes today or last year doesn't mean that same location is going to have it. So we have to be proactive in identifying where these are going to be. We have to be proactive as individual leaders and champions of our program. And we have to gather and focus the resources in a very proactive way. One of the things here, this picture here, this was the car of one of my son's friends, Sally. She had just graduated got her master's in business, and she was on her first job, and they were working really long hours, and she missed her exit. And in the median, you can see in the lower corner was a crash cushion, or in fact, breakaway device. This was an ET, probably ET 2000, and a slotted rail terminal also was at that location. And what happened is she lost control of the car and hit the end of the guardrail, and the guardrail went up into the car and pushed her in the back and the front, and her and her seat out the back window, killing her instantly. When we went out there and looked at it, we found out that it had been installed incorrectly, and we found out that all of the installations were done incorrectly. All of them would result in something like this. So we talked to the engineer, and this is one of the things where we could have been proactive in looking at this. We could have been proactive in training and getting the right inspection out there, but we didn't, and it resulted in a very serious and tragic death. So sometimes it may look good, but if we have a situation where guardrail or any highway device goes into a car, into a vehicle, that means that there's a failure of the device itself. Let's be proactive, and
to top up your omega-3 DHA.
This is up north here. We're fishing, and we're trying to be proactive in our fishing, and sometimes it gets a little boring out there.
Healthy lives.
And then all of a sudden, oh, we got somebody. So we can be proactive, and then sometimes we can get eaten up by the situation. Anthony, did you hear the sound? Excuse me.
I was hear the sound. No, I was not able to hear the audio.
Okay.
Oh, Robert says he was able to.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Begin with the end in mind. This is a key thing that we want to do. In your safety program, what do you want to have as your goal? In 5 and 10 years, what do you want your organization to look like? What do you want your safety programs to be? And when you leave the agency, when you retire, when you move on, what do you want to leave as your legacy? And what do you want the agency and the numbers to be when you leave? What do you want to achieve? And what do you want to be? So these are some of the key things. The directions, there's many directions, but we have to decide what sort of a program, what do we want the city of Tampa, what do we want the city of St. Pete, what do we want District 7 to look like, what do we want Florida to look like as far as safety. Excuse me. Okay, here we are, we're up north, and this is one of the things that you may be experiencing sometime. And if you're hearing the sound, I cannot hear the sound, but hope you can hear the sound. It's important to clear off your car, to get it all ready, to get everything together. And you see this scene many times in Atlanta. They're probably seeing this in Mobile. Cold, and you're using your credit card to clear the car, and then all of a sudden you find out that you just cleared your friend's car. And so it's important to have the end in mind that your goal was not just to clear a car and clean a car, it was to clean your car. And doesn't that happen to us every so often? Do we have our ladder? One of the things that some of the leadership at Federal Highway Administration would say, do we have our ladder against the right house? Are we painting the right house? So we have to think of what the end in mind is. First things first. This is probably one of the things I have a challenge with. I always like to do the easy things first, the fun things first, and then get on little rabbit trails and not get everything done that I should. But we need to have that proper planning. Just like we have perk charts and flow charts, we need to have some priorities. What is the most important thing we need to get done? We need to get that report into Peter so he can process that. What's the most important thing on that report to fill out? What's going to take time to get done? So we need to have what are the first things we need to get done, and then we have to watch out that we don't have a lot of round to it. We're going to get around to it someday. We're going to get that thing that District 7 has asked. We're going to get that done. We're going to get around to it. And I like to do, I said, the easy things, but sometimes you got to just do the hard things first and get them done. Whatever's the most important. We have to build on a sound foundation. Certainly the folks at Leaning Tower of Pisa never thought about that the soil would be bad in one section versus the other, but it sure did create, they made lemonade out of lemons, and everybody knows the Leaning Tower of Pisa now, but you have to build on a very strong foundation. What are the important things that need to be done first that we're going to build on and not wait until later? What are the things like data, even evaluation? We need to have an evaluation plan as part of our implementation plan. That's part of the first things first. Go for the win. Look for the win-win. One of the things that Mary Peters, who is Federal Highway Administrator and then Secretary of Transportation, would say is, look for the yes. How can we get to yes? Work with the cities and the states and the counties to get to yes. She did not want to hear we can't do it because of federal regulation. She wanted to know how we can get to yes. There are many things that are eligible in highway safety, but what is the best fit to enhance safety on that particular project and program? You know, we may have, no, you can't really do that. That's not maybe cost effective. However, how about some other countermeasures that are less costly that we can install? What are some of the other things we can do in lieu of that? Maybe we need to get some enforcement out there or education, or maybe we can replace all of the guardrail in the district or the state, but we can delineate the ends of it or do something. What can we do to enhance safety? And Secretary of Transportation Slater would always ask us to look for the good. What are the good things being done, and then to praise them, to look for that win-win situation. And so we all win. The local agencies win, the state wins, the public wins. One of the things I noticed in Larry Taylor's presentation last week, he really covered each of the 8 key aspects. When he talked about LAP, he really covered each of the aspects. He talked about doing first things first. He talked about win-win. And remember, he said, when the local agencies win, the state wins. And so we always have to look at that. We're in a team together. And here are 2 young grandchildren, and a win-win situation is when their grandfather buys each of them a DS, so they don't have to share. That's just something on the side. Another thing that Larry talked about was seek first to understand and then be understood. Larry talked about the importance of communication, of conversation, getting to know the individuals, the other individuals. We all have different languages. At the Federal Highway Administration, we had a different language than the states, and in Federal Highway Administration, we had a different language than some of the other agencies. So we have our internal languages, we have our internal cultures, we have different goals, different agencies have different goals. We have to look for that common ground. How can we find that common ground through communication, the conversations, the coordination, the collaboration, to look together and identify what are some of the key things that we need to do to work together. Now here's one where we want to, communication is a key factor. This is how you may feel sometimes when you go to a public hearing.
How much are they asking? Well, that's a lot of money for a deck. Well, I hate to tell you this, but you're getting robbed. Did you hear me? You're getting robbed.
So sometimes we have to understand and to make ourselves clear, both to understand and be understood. It's so very, very critical. It's sometimes just to listen. The teamwork, working together, the common goals, the team effort, all that stuff that we talk about, on a baseball team, in a professional baseball team. Who is the most important player there? Is the guy that's getting paid the most? Or is it the vendor that's selling peanuts, popcorn, and Cracker Jack? Is it the person putting out the white lines, the foul lines, the infield crew, the groundskeepers? How are they important to the whole picture? Everybody plays a key factor in it, and without each of them doing their part, the whole cannot happen. No matter how great a baseball player you are, if the bases haven't been put out, it doesn't make any difference if somebody didn't put out second and third base. So the groundskeepers are so important too. It takes a team effort. Everybody brings their own resources and talents to it. The importance of developing a team of multidisciplinary approach to have people that's where the road safety audits is so critical. It brings together people, maybe media, maybe you have attorneys on the team. We actually took attorneys on our RSAs due to some issues that were going on. To have bike enthusiasts, bike advocates, pedestrian advocates, whatever it may be, people that are involved in different disciplines, but bring a different viewpoint, different eyes, and then to communicate and to talk to one another and try to understand the languages. That's what RSA is all about. That's what the Highway Safety Improvement Program is all about, and the Strategic Highway Safety Plan. And it's a team approach. It's just not one individual or two individuals. It's just not, that safety team's going to handle it. It's a whole team working together to make things happen, working towards that common goal. As we have the pit crew ready, tires, everything going on, jacks in place, wrenches ready. Excuse me, but sometimes we may not have talked to the person who calibrated the air wrench. So we want to have everybody playing together, and sometimes we have very zealous people working on our team, and we want to work with them too. Aware of the past and abreast of the present and future. These are key factors in this. This is where in Covey it talks about sharpening the saw to stay current, to stay involved. The continuing education that District 7 is providing is unbelievably great. The peer exchanges that go on. To be looking at innovative and emerging ideas. That's one of the things that leadership, and I think the leadership of District 7 and others in Florida have to be commended for their willingness to take on some innovative things, emerging ideas, because what is innovative and emerging today is just commonplace tomorrow. I've seen it over and over and over again. So that's one of the things that we have to do, is be willing to risk sometimes and come up with new ideas, but keep abreast of what's working, what's not working. Rectangular rapid flashing beacon, a prime example of what was just an idea is now commonplace and being accepted throughout the country. We want to be aware of the proven countermeasures, what works, what doesn't work, what works in situations, and keeping abreast of what's happening. It's just like you see on the ads every day, television ads for different types of drugs, and it says that this particular drug will make you breathe better or do something better, but it has side effects that we have to be aware of, and that's one of the things that the Highway Safety Manual addresses, helps you identify the things that work, the things that don't work, and then to use engineering judgment and a little intuition to say, let's try this in this situation. Because a drug may work for one person, but it may kill another person. So it's the same thing here. You may have a great drug, oh, this really worked for me, but then they can't take your medication because it may not work with their system. All of the websites that we have, the District 7 website, the listservs that are available are just incredible in exchanging that information. The journals, the articles, and one of the things is to reinvent the wheel or build upon it. One of the things I learned virtually the first day back in Federal Highway Administration, and even back in college, was that good ideas repeat themselves, and we keep rediscovering new ideas over and over again, like the ideas in the 1924 report. They're there, but we forget. Each generation forgets, and great ideas, old sages told me that recreate about every 7 years. So have a file of great ideas, tuck them away, and about 7 years later you can pull them out, and they're a new idea. Everybody has moved on, and you come up with a new idea. But don't try to reinvent the wheel, but build upon it and look at the things. Some of the old ideas may be old, but they're proven and they can continue to work. Sometimes we have to do some kind of different things. Here we have a situation in Germany where they've come up with, an older gentleman has come up with a new idea and traffic calming, and you may want to apply this in your residential areas, and it can be done made in your own backyard. You got your concrete mixer there, you got some planks, get some springs ready, and there you go. Be sure to have your retroreflective paint tape on there, which is always important for the drivers to be able to see this. See the nice paint there, the retroreflective tape on there, and to get out of the way because the car's coming. So this is a way to calm down traffic in your jurisdiction. Make sure the springs are tight enough, and do have a landing pad later on. And the wife always knows best. So sometimes you want to try this out in somebody else's backyard. The final one is passion. When you can have all of these, and this is what Covey added later on. He didn't call it passion, he just said more energy, to pass that energy around. Passion being the champion brings the enthusiasm and the support, the leadership, the team leadership. We have the Super Bowl coming up now, and the leadership of the two quarterbacks, of the coaches, of the team, and they have that passion that's unique to leaders. And they bring the resources together. They focus them to keep focused on what our goals are, where we want to be, what first things first, what are we committed to, and they want to be there for the long haul. Safety is a long haul. We've been doing this for a long time, since 24. Remember back in 91, we had 42,000. It was a long haul through the 90s with really no reduction in fatalities. We knew we were in the long haul, and there would be a tipping point, and that tipping point came about 2008, when the numbers started to come down, things started to pull together. The Champions Guide, FHWA, has a Champions Guide that talks about some of the key things that you may want to have, and the essential elements that I covered earlier today. So finally, we have the Super Bowl coming up. Certainly, Coach Lombardi was very passionate. His players were passionate. I had the opportunity to meet several of the players and chat with them. It was just incredible. And his passion was in his team, in what they did. and now we have the Seahawks and the Denver Broncos going at it, and whoever may win will be the one that leaves it all on the team, on the field, as the coach would say. Okay, so here are the keys. You've been taking notes on your business card. Hope that you have some of these ideas written down and that you remember them. What we covered here is nothing new. You shouldn't have heard anything new today. This should just be a reminder of what we can do, what we need to do to have a successful program. District 7 in Florida is on a tremendous road to safety, and we all can be part of that by applying this both in our professional life and our personal life to address these things. And really, when you look at the guide, you will see in the guide that was developed by District 7, you will see that each of these items are incorporated and embedded in the development of that guide. Where we're going next is the Safety Academy Part 2, and Dennis has done a fantastic job in pulling all these folks together and making this happen. The 12 sessions have been just fantastic, and Anthony has done a wonderful job in the coordination back and forth and keeping the technology up to date and keeping all of us speakers in line. So here are some of the things that are under consideration for the next round, and like Dennis said, we're going to be going to the summit, and if you haven't come to this, sign up for the summit yet, please do. It'll be worth your time. It'll save lives. Remember, every day counts, and every day that we can have a safer environment, the more lives we save, and the fewer people are injured. So this to register for that, and here's the registration again that will be posted to sign up for this bit, and be sure to be there. It's just, the other ones have been just fantastic, and I anticipate this will be super too. So now we're all on the road to driving down the fatalities in our area, and I'm glad to be part of that road, and looking forward to seeing how you advance highway safety in your district and in your community and in your state. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rudy. Anthony, are there any questions in the chat room?
I do not see any in the chat. We can give folks a few minutes.
Okay.
I can go ahead and unmute District 7 if they have anything to add.
And there will be a quiz at the summit, and Peter will give out prizes for those who successfully complete the quiz.
I believe I've unmuted the District 7 conference room. Are you guys there?
We're here. You hear us?
Anything to add as closing remarks to this first phase of the District 7 Local Safety Academy?
No, it was excellent. We're just excited about the upcoming stuff going on, and looking forward to the summit. Hopefully get that all straightened out as far as the room and everything, and have updates for everybody too. So.
And just as a reminder, this is Dennis again. The second set of topics that Rudy listed there will be coming out soon, and they will begin in March, sometime after the summit, and they will go through sometime in March to the end of the year in December, taking in account any kind of holidays or any other kind of major events for adjustment. So
Well, great. Thank you, everybody, for attending. If there are no questions in the chat, I will go ahead and end this recording. We will stay on the line for a few minutes if anybody has anything else that they wish to discuss.